and welcome to the second episode of Peas in a Pod. I'm just stood at the side of my first plot at the minute. We're just going to show you around my plots. You know, it's not all me though. Next weekend we're going down having a look at Dan's. This is my original plot, which we will go on and have a look round shortly. To start with, I just want to show you the latest plot, what I'm doing with it, you know, and how we're taking it forward. So this plot did belong to this fella here. He decided to downsize, you know, he went down to that one. So I took it on. Right place, right time really. Which is about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. Originally, you see the fence posts all the way up this side here. It was basically a mini orchard. It had fruit beds that went all the way up, which I did continue with last year. But at the end of the day, if you're having an allotment, it's got to do what you want it to do. It's got to fit in, Dan, with what you want to get out of it, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
And they were all fruit. They weren't producing. It did look lovely. It was immaculate. You know, I can't knock what the fella did. But we're into growing. Especially me and Dan, we like growing for shows. So I want the area, a bigger area to grow my bigger marrows in. So all them beds have come out. That's been cultivated now and they're getting ready for a marrow. Just here we have a strawberry bed. They're just starting to come back into life. There's a bit of a south set there, but we'll sort that out. We're doing more on them in weeks to come because it's getting to the time of year we need to start thinking about protecting them. They'll be getting the flowers on soon. We'll be putting some covers over to obviously stop the birds eating all the strawberries.
Fruit.
Yeah. This bed this year, I've left this post in. We're going to have some runner beans in here. I don't eat a lot of runner beans. Normally I just grow for length, for showing. But this year we are going to grow some called Benchmaster, which will be for eating and also, you know, for showing for quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think you have a plate of 6 or something for quality, don't you?
Yeah, depending on which show you're at.
We've got an apple tree. I planted that last year just to still, you know, keep a bit of the fruit heritage that this allotment has. That's a John Dowie. What I'm doing, I don't want to get too here, there and everywhere with everything, but basically I'm just growing it on 2 branches. So this comes as a normal standard apple tree. So it was this height, yeah. I selected these 2 lower branches, I've kept those on, I've stopped it here. What I want is a lot of fruit, but not a lot of foliage and apple growth. I'm trying to keep it compact, yeah. I'll do that by pruning. So what I'm trying to do, you have 2 types of fruit in apples. You have the spur bearers and you have tip bearing apples. Obviously the tip bearers, they're all on the very ends of the branches. So it's the spur types you want. Then you can get your fruit all the way down these stems. You can absolutely laden it with fruit. I think I will be touching on quite a bit tonight because we are going to do some propagation, as you know from last week, is plant hormones. You know, I'm not going to get heavy and send you to sleep. It's not a science lesson. But by bending branches of a fruit tree down like this, it does alter the balance of the hormones.
Yeah.
What will happen, you'll start producing less foliage and more fruit. So whenever you can grow fruit vertically or horizontally, we do it. You see, by bringing these branches down, we just change that balance and we will produce more fruit in a smaller area as well. The other benefit of that, of course, is you don't need a step ladder or a grabber to
go
get
and
your
pick
apples, pears.
That's it.
Yeah.
More controllable.
Exactly. Yeah. On this side had been cultivated by the previous tenant last year. Well, yeah, year before was all soil. I grew fruit potatoes in that end last year. And I did grow a pumpkin in here. Yeah, what we fed. This has gone over now. These are my dahlia beds. So each bed as we go up, we'll have a different variety of dahlia, and there'll be 1 variety per bed. All being well, so I've got to do the cutting. Yeah. The dahlias, how you show them, is in the different types of flower they have. So for instance, you could say there'll be pom-poms in the first bed, miniature ball in the second, medium decoratives, large decoratives, etc. Hopefully
Yeah.
you can go. So. Like I said, this side is going to have one of the big marrows in. We do try growing really the giant marrows. My PB, my personal best up to press for last year when I grew one at £110 and had a slightly smaller one at, I think it was about £97. You do need to get a lot of not fertilisers, but organic matters and fertilisers into your soil when you're growing something that big. This, I trenched it through the winter, so I took out a slithering a trench, which is a spit, that's a spade depth. That was topped up by garden compost, mulch leaves. Then the second spit covers the first and you work your way down. And then there's roughly in the region of 1,000 litres of bag horse manure gone on here during the winter. And then I don't know if Dan can pick up the small brown sort of pellets they are that are on there. Yeah, they're the chicken pellets. So it's had a base dress and it's been fed with chicken pellets. So we're back on the first allotment, which I took on Ortley Lane now. We just had a look at the newest one. This, it's fair to say, this is my main allotment. This is where most of the growing does, the variety. Once again, we've got the old IBC in place to catch water. Obviously it's not going to catch a lot because there's no guttering attached to this, but the simple reason is this roof's coming off. We're going to have eventually get some, the big onions will be going in there, and I want to net the top. It hasn't really worked on here. You know, I couldn't get the actual material I wanted for this roof, and it just hasn't worked. So if it's not working, change it. You know, don't try and keep going with it. You can't fight tide. If it don't work for you, adjust it, change it. Got the mandatory allotment shed, which will not look in there. That's the wormery. We'll go into more detail, I think, on another episode with wormery and why we do it, what we do it for, Dan, I think, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we could be forever in a day just with that. Yeah, another IBC, plenty of barrels, collecting water everywhere we can. Same, the new greenhouse where we filmed last week. I told you there are a couple of jobs I've still got to do. I've managed to get guttering up on this side. It's allotments, you know, it's not a show house. So we have got a bit of a mousetrap guttering. If you remember the game we had with my kids' mousetrap, you'll probably wait Dan. But it's rain, that's collected water, it's worked. That's all I want, that's fine by me. A lot of work is really done here. You know, the construction, cutting bits of wood up, etc. I put a few of the little bonsais out just on table what we do, just to show you. We'll be covering these more as they get going. They're only just starting to spring back into life. This is one of the biggest trees in the world. It's the giant redwood, the metasequoia. And you've got 5 in a pot that big. And we've done 2 cuttings last year. I think Dan's having one of them. I'm going to have a little go at it, see what he can do. So no, there's no worry with them. It's all gentle with them. There's an azalea. This is a bonsai azalea. An olive next to it. And on the very end, that one's defoliating. That's a myrtle. So, but it's natural for it to look like that at the moment. So all them leaves will be coming off. I'll start watering it, giving it a slight feed, plenty of water. That should come back in. We're not going this net house, but just in here is we've set some long carrots off in that end one. We've got some long beetroot to go in the middle barrel. The parsnips in this end one, this yellow one here, and we'll be putting some pipes in to do some more parsnips and carrots in. Again, they're more for show than for table. Next tunnel. What I've got in here is the leeks. You try and have your own stock. Like I say, it's the first year I will have been showing leeks to, well, I'm going to say to any standard, but it's the first time I'll be showing leeks and full stop. So we try and create our own grasses, which will go through in due time. So these are leeks what I carried off from last year. That's either a Cumbrian or a Betty Black, I can't remember which now. That's a pot leek, and these are 2 of the Pendle improved, which were John and Lorraine's, who were next door. 2 excellent growers, really excellent growers. So we'll be looking to get his own stock off them. We had a really big, nice red cabbage last year. if you remember, Dan, didn't we? In fact,
Yeah,
there's
it
a
was.
picture on FB, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
we've
not
put a
sure.
picture on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've kept that over winter with Julie to the purpose of letting it run to seed. It's open pollinated. When you're open pollinated, anything can happen. It could go worse, it could go better. But unless you keep seeding them, you don't know. So these are just starting to open up now, so it shouldn't be too long in getting them. They're the penstemons I showed you last week in the small pots, which I said were ready for going up. They're into a 2 litre pot now. They were potted up yesterday afternoon. They'll stop in them till June, and then they'll halves going in the bed. I think we have an open day in August. We have a little plant sale and cakes and stuff, which is nice. So half of them will be going towards that as well. The giant cabbages, what we saw in the greenhouse, I've selected 6 of them out now to be potted on, which is another job we're getting done in the next few days. They're the surplus they've come into here. I don't, obviously not going straight onto compost heap in case I have any sort of problems with the selected ones. If I lose one for whatever reason, I can always come in, pick the best of the rest and replace it with that. Let's just have a quick look at the raised beds then, just give you a quick rundown on what we do now. We do a few pointers. There's 18 raised beds on this part. Well, the first things you might pick up on is I've numbered them all.
Yeah.
Yep. Very simple reason is crop rotation. You don't want to be growing, for example, your cabbages in the same place every year. It leads to problems. It's what in the industry they call monocropping. And it's not a case of you might get problems, you will get problems. It's when it happens. So a bit anorak, but all these are numbered. I've got a book at home. I just jot down what I've put in them. So this year when I come to planting, I can look bed number 2, had cauliflowers in, bed number 3 had tomatoes in. Right, my collies are safe in number 3. Number 2 can have something else.
Yeah.
Just the way I do it. Just a quick shuffle round. There's not a lot to see yet. That started the planting out season really. Some giant beetroot. Hopefully taking them through to arrogate. Hopefully avoiding, there's a long time, it's not well mid-September. Trying to avoid them running to seed and that on me. I think the heaviest one you're looking, the world record, it'd be lovely to have a world record, is about 55 pounds. So we'll keep at it, we'll give it a shout, micro mesh bed, just to give it some protection. When I make these, I also like to throw them on hinges. That'll just sit back, it'll not hurt them. They're the other shallots. You saw the 4 in the greenhouse on the other allotment. They're the 4 that have gone in the beds. Again, it's a well-fed bed, and we have got some chicken pellets put in there. Some people worry about chicken pellets. They said, oh, they're an high nitrogen. They are high nitrogen, but they're a pellet. They take the time to break down. So they're not getting all the feed at once. So they are high nitrogen, but they're not releasing it all at once. Yep. Quick look down here. Most of the beds they've all been worked over. Weeding, I do try to keep on top of the weeding as much as I can. Weeds bring problems, it's as simple as that. 1, the competition for your plants. 2, they will harbour whitefly through winter. It will overwinter. When I started, whitefly didn't get through winter. You know, it was a new breed every year. The hard frost got it. It's hardened now as whitefly. It is getting through winters.
Yeah.
Example, these Jerome spring cauliflowers. I've had to give them a spray about 6 weeks ago because they were covered in whitefly. Again, if it's totally new to you and it's all sounding a bit, these collies, looking at them, I don't know if you can get in on this, Dan. In the next 2 weeks to a month we'll be eating these cauliflowers. You can start tightening up in the centres. You see how the leaves are grabbing?
Yep.
That's showing that they're starting to set a collie. Whether we can get in and see it, I don't think we will, it's too far down, but getting that tightness, that's a good sign. That's a sign your collies are setting. That's the bit where the long runner beans are going to go. I only grow 6. I keep all the side shoots and everything off the long runner beans. Again, that's something you'll see as we go through. These beds have got spray chrysanthemums in. Bed 6, bed 17, bed 18. That's getting altered this season. Staking them on here, as you can see, the prevailing winds can be a nightmare. That's what I did with some success last year. I had dahlias in here and we'll transfer these chrysanthemums to here. I plant them all. This is stock fencing. The plants are planted between the stock fencing and I insert stakes in. There'll be 3 at each side, so there'll be 6. All this stock fencing is moved up and it supports the plants. You haven't got all the canes, you're not doing all that business. Did it with dahlias, worked a treat, so we're going to do it with chrysanthemums this year. Quick one, I know I'm going on, but I like to see what we've got. Again, some more fruit. This little area I'm trying to grow as much fruit as I can in a small area, because you don't need stately homes to be growing fruit in. You know, I could produce enough fruit for a family of 3 or 4 in this area without trying, just by using the dwarf fruit stock varieties. You know, by again fetching them branches down. They're going to be, them 2 apple trees there, a variety called Limelight. They're going to be trained, they'll not get no higher than that. They're what they call step over apples. And again, because of them auxins, fetching that branch down, more fruit, less foliage. The bed of strawberries, which I showed you 5 or 10 minutes ago, when I first took this allotment on, we had a rogue strawberry. That's what we had, is there, or she's there, or it's there. That's filled that strawberry bed. All the runners that come off that are potted up, overwintered, filled the strawberry bed. It's that simple, Dan. You're paying £1.50 a plant if you go and buy them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not hard. It really isn't. So this is a double pot, so I'll just switch to this side. The buckets have gone out. Last year I grew dahlias in here, that's what each of these, in fact we'll start here. Each of these holes had a dahlia in, you're going to get wet, not to worry. So that was that year. This year, because I took that allotment on, dahlias are going over there. I'm growing my potatoes in my buckets here. What we do is we sink the buckets in the ground, you're not watering as much, you get that moisture coming up from the ground then. You just stuff these on the paths, you're watering all the time with potatoes. It's to cut, it's like I said last week, you know, to cut it down, time management, make it easier. So we'll have a go at that method this year. That's another marrow bed. Again, it's got the barrel on for the automated feeders to go on. Quick look, won't be a quick look, you're going to get wet. Little herbaceous border, there's a bit of all sorts in here. We're coming back with some lovely delphiniums, which I did fill a bed up with, I divided, and a bed up near the fence there, that's full of delphiniums, all come off these 2 here. Flag iris, hollyhock, the larger leaf one there. A buddleia, again you might think buddleia on allotment. If you look after it, yeah, it's not a problem, but it's fetching wildlife in. You know, it's fetching them beneficial insects, it's fetching the butterflies, the bees, the pollinators, what you want. Got 2 Montana clematis, which are growing up. They were cuttings last year, which I mentioned John and Lorraine. Lorraine took them cuttings, she passed 2 on to me, and they're absolutely flying. We've got a little Ligularia, Dan. Ligularia desdemona.
I won't even dare try to say that.
Yeah. Lungwort, I think its common name is. Lovely. This is Jacob's Ladder, Polygonium, variegated form, absolutely stunning, lovely plant. A nice white flower on it in summer as well. Iris sibirica, again, all herbaceous stuff. Herbaceous, if you don't know, something that dies back in the winter, that comes again in the spring. It goes back to, it's got a food storage. It's an adventitious root, so you've got like a corm or a bulb.
Yeah.
That's it. Basically, it stores its energy in there, it comes back to life each spring. A few penstemons. You will see this bed is gappy. Cosmea there that don't look like it'll come back, but it's early yet. It's gap because I had some canners in here last year. Obviously at the back end I lifted them. Ceanothus, again, Californian lilac, absolutely beautiful plant. One slight disadvantage with being on allotments, I don't know if you can get in and see, I've cut a lot of it out. Somebody's been spraying weed killer and we've had some drift on it. And that's what this is. But it's a good big plant, it's got through it, obviously it hasn't been sprayed. So it hasn't totally damaged it. Got a couple of geums, a red flowering one and a yellow. This is Bradshaw, they're distracted. Red hot poker, a mixture of the oriental poppies, the papavers, stunning when they come out. Bit slower this year, whether the weather's a factor, everything seems a bit slower. Some of the lupins haven't made it back this year. There's Britches, Acanthus. That's Acanthus spinosa. Be careful with Acanthus, there's Acanthus mollis, Acanthus spinosa. The mollis will spread, spinosa don't, so look for that one. Because the other one will be all over, you know, send runners out, creepers. Some compost bins there. Again, program on its own composting, so we'll come back to that. Oh, we'll just a quick glance at this bit, Dan, and then I think they're going to see all this in time, so I think it'll be enough, won't it?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an overload, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. This structure is for the giant cabbages. It's not finished yet, still got some environment on this side, and then obviously the top covering. There we planted straight into the ground. And they're the collars. So basically they're, with the cabbage when you're getting up to 50 pounds, if you just plant it in the ground, you know, straight in the ground, they get top heavy, they'll lean over, then they uproot themselves. So you put a collar on, just to support them, to stop that up. That's all that's about. Again, that will have a barrel, and then I'm going to run a pipe, a seapo's down this, for these giant cabbages this year, and water them that way. Giant marrow again, maybe a pumpkin. Green manure, that's what's in there. I've just starting to dig it in now. The one I chose was red clover because it's a nitrogen fixer. The reason that sticks there is because that's where I had the thickest, densest growing of the green manure. So it's some of the most fertile parts of the bed. So it makes sense to plant the marrow there. That one will be going that way, to that corner, towards that pear tree. Again, we've got a barrel there ready for the timer to be fitted. Quick look in here, this is one of the carrot beds. It's a sand bed we poured out. So we seed a modular, that clover, what we had a look at. I'll be placing carrots in there, sweet candle in due time, probably another week. They'll be getting sown direct into them pots, covered up with little yoghurt cartons just to cover them up.